Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited today to come to you with another webinar. And today we have Dr. Megen McBride, who is a naturopath, joining us. And I am so excited because I've personally worked with her and met with her a few times. And we've had some pretty breakthrough discoveries about my personal body and what's going on. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I want to give her an intro because her practice is all about botanical, homeopathic, energetic, and nutritional medicine, right? Bringing everything together. And she loves talking about hormones. She's so knowledgeable. Her and I have had many conversations or a couple of conversations that have been so enlightening. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear from her and just her perspective. She is a mama of 5, and she has her bachelor's in, well, she started in pre-med. And I think what I read on your website is you started in pre-med, and during that time and some of the jobs that she had and some of her experiences, she decided that she didn't want to do conventional medicine. And so after having her children, she learned a lot, obviously with 5 kids. But in 2013, she went to Bastyr University, which is a very, very well-renowned school for naturopathic medicine. And so she has her doctorate from there, and she's been practicing as a naturopath in Encinitas, which is in San Diego, for those of you who don't know Encinitas in that area, since 2018. So she is just a wealth of knowledge, and I am so excited that you are joining us. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
Oh, thank you. I look forward to talking with you, and I do love talking about hormones, and so it's an honor for me to share.
I'm so excited. Well, let's start with just kind of stages of menopause, because I think it's so interesting how it can happen for so many women at so many different ages, and just depends. Everyone is so unique. But why don't you talk a little bit about those stages and sort of when you recommend people kind of start looking at their hormone levels, getting those things checked, or just sort of your advice on that?
You know, you couldn't have said it better in that we are all so unique. And so what they find, and I think some of it's just the shifting perspective of what is menopause, what is perimenopause. And I say that because we've conventionally just considered menopause a sex hormone issue. So we've, considered it an estrogen, a progesterone, a testosterone issue. But in reality, it's much, much more than that. It's a thyroid issue, adrenal issue, a hippocampus and a brain issue. And so it really does encompass the whole endocrine system. And we know as women that we transform through our lives. We transform into these beautiful young women, and we start cycling. And that comes with its hormone shifts. And then we come into times of fertility when our hormones are very high and yet more stable than the teenage age. And then we come into the more of the later 30s, early 40s, where we consider this time, for many, they say, oh, it's not premenopause, but a lot of doctors do consider it a type of premenopause, in that you'll find things that perhaps and often due to like liver health and adrenal health. Was the stress in your life? Did you have children? Did you not have children? How severe was your lifestyle? We've got some extreme people that do extreme workouts, and then other people that don't work out at all. And so that kind of starts coming into play in your later 30s and early 40s in a more dramatic way, especially as the endocrine system starts taking effect, or starts feeling the effect of a lifestyle. And so I suggest women get their hormones checked. I really recommend in their 30s, even if you feel amazing, even if you're like, this is me, this is, and actually it's fun because women actually don't peak in their physical performance usually until their 30s. So anyways, there's a lot of differences between women just like associating with men, and oh yeah, 18 and 19, that's when I peak. No. We're kind of on a slow burn in that aspect. So it's kind of fun to get hormones even at that level to see what's optimal for me when I'm feeling great. But especially if you start having experiences where you're getting some brain fog, fatigue that's unusual for you, weight gain or weight loss that's unusual for you. Maybe you're an athlete and all of a sudden you realize that your muscle mass isn't responding the same, or you're not able to keep the same lean muscle that you had in the past, those are times to start getting to seeing an expert and getting some support, because the earlier we get on board together in a collaborative way of keeping you healthy and strong, the profound longevity effects that it has for you. So does that help?
It's so interesting because some women, especially if you've been through some infertility too, and you've taken some hormones in order to, have a child, that has kind of been something that will mess with your body, not mess with your body, but just create a different chemistry in your body than someone who maybe hasn't had to do that. So, one of my questions is, when I went in, you guys, I felt pretty good, but according to my labs, there was a lot going on. And I think that's the thing that just surprised me so much is there's the thyroid, there's the adrenals, there's your iron levels, there's your estrogen, there's your progesterone, there's your testosterone. And it's this beautiful balance that your body's trying to create. And it's amazing how your body will compensate as well. So, I think I've always kind of thought, let me power through this. Let my body do its natural thing, because I think that that's kind of what we've been told. Like, going on hormones can be a bad thing, or let your body just do what it should do. So what would be your opinion on that?
Well, I feel like, I know a lot of people will say, well, that doesn't feel natural to me. And my response to them is that we don't live in a very natural world. Unfortunately, we're exposed to a lot of different physiological stress factors, foods that may not be as nutritious, maybe full of, herbicides or pesticides or plastics. And so we're kind of exposed, we have a greater exposure to the environment and to hormone and things that disrupt the hormones. The other thing is nutrients. We want to get a lot of things out of our food, and there are a lot of nutrients in food. But if our digestive health isn't on board with that, we can eat all the amazing, most grass-fed organic food that we want, and yet we may not be digesting it. So when we're going through life and we're just missing or lacking key nutrients and key ingredients, the first thing that suffers, unfortunately, is generally our hormones. And so I've had many clients come to me on anti-anxiety meds or antidepressants, but really manifest with low hormones or low adrenals, or oftentimes it's low B vitamins or low iron. Of course, when I see someone and they're telling me, okay, I have fatigue, anxiety, and depression, I think I have to really take a very good history of their exposure to those things, as well as I got to get that those markers to know where they're at. You can't guess it. When you go into a doctor and say, I have a headache, and they say, oh, well, here's a headache medication. Okay, that covers a symptom. Or if you say to a doctor, I'm fatigued, or I can't think right, and they give you something to, stimulate the brain, it's not foundational in that. To me, I say that's not the natural approach. Because if your body needs to run on a particular level of B vitamins or nutrients or cofactors, and those are lacking, to substitute it in an artificial way is not beneficial for you or your body. It's a way to kind of cover up the real problem. But yeah, I see it a lot. Where women are pushing through. And they're pushing through the brain fog or the fatigue or slight memory loss, or, people will tease them about this or that, and oh no, it's not a big deal. But sometimes, those things can be solved so quickly. The problem that I see is that women put it off and it becomes chronic. It becomes something that instead of happening for 5 months, now it's been happening for 5 years. And the issue with that is that it's not just a physiological issue, it's also a psychological issue, because when we become used to a new normal for us, then we're ready to compromise our health. We're ready to compromise our vitality and our quality of life. And so when I come in, sometimes I'm not even struggling with finding the physiological problem. I'm struggling with talking to their mental, emotional sense that this is just a part of aging and this is just who I am. And I'm like, I'm your same age, and I would never like, I would never be comfortable with not being able to live a good quality life. So
I think it's so true. And you'll hear, like, I just had someone say, I just want to get my zest back, or I just feel so apathetic. Like, I'm just blah. And you guys, you don't have to feel that way. What was so interesting when we were chatting was if you could explain, what does estrogen do in our body? What does progesterone do? And what does testosterone do? Because when you hear this, you'll be like, oh, that's why it's so important to get those back in my body if I don't have them.
I love hormones. So yeah, let's do estrogen is what we would consider our beautiful hormone. It makes our hair soft, our skin soft, and our collagen tight. It helps to make us feel beautiful and alive. It's a moisture. It's a growth hormone in the body. So of course, there's 3 different types of estrogen. There's estradiol, which is that estrogen that I'm talking about, that we consider the beautiful estrogen. We've got estriol, which is primarily a pregnancy estrogen that helps to support pregnancy, but is also has been shown in research to be anti-cancerous and to be beneficial and supportive in the female body. And then there's estrone, which is primarily considered more of a menopausal estrogen. And these estrogens all have their benefits. They all have their some of their risks and their drawbacks as well. So it's important to understand that anytime you're dealing with a hormone, you're dealing with a very powerful, beautiful element in the body that has a very strong effect. So estrogen is something that I consider like a gas. Like if you're going to put estrogen in your tank, you're going to be going fast and furious, and you're going to be feeling good. Women with high estrogen generally feel very good unless they don't have enough progesterone and testosterone to balance that. Because progesterone is the hormone that increases to get ready for pregnancy. It's that beautiful hormone that is also growth promoting, but calming. It calms the mind, it calms the body. If estrogen's the gas, then progesterone would be the brakes of the car. So, if you have gas and you're just going, and then you have no brakes for those hills, and when you need to come down a little bit, you run into situations where you can't calm the mind. A lot of times when women can't go to sleep at night and their mind is just working, or they wake up and their mind's just going, it can be a progesterone deficiency where the progesterone's too low. And when doctors give hormones, of course, everyone's unique. And so not everyone gets, in fact, very few people get the same thing all the time. But we want to consider, where's your estrogen at? Where's your progesterone at? And is it appropriate to kind of help with nighttime estrogen, maybe some cream? So there's different applications of these hormones, but that's progesterone. And then we have this amazing testosterone. Now, ladies, estrogen comes from testosterone. Our body takes cholesterol, it makes testosterone, and it converts into estrogen. And so it's really important for us to understand that testosterone is not just for men. It's very important for us to have free testosterone and total testosterone in the body to levels in which testosterone is a very motivating hormone. It's a get up and go. It's a very healthy for the brain and for the psychology of the brain to have some testosterone on board. It's very beneficial for joint health and healing the body. So when estrogen as well is very important for bone health as well. So these hormones aren't, we always consider them into the like sex hormones, but these are hormones that affect the whole system of the body, which is really beautiful. So I hope that cleared it up. But yeah, all of them are important. We can't just have one and not another. We can't just have one in spades, or one just that dropped off the planet. We really need to have them working in concert together.
Exactly. And no matter what you do, they decrease, right? They're going to get kind of where they're not at optimal levels. So that is why you don't have to lose your zest. You don't have to just settle. You don't have to say, "Oh, this is the stage of life where I just don't feel like doing anything," right? Like actually, you can empower yourself to get your labs checked with somebody who is going to really look at the whole picture. It's not just getting your estrogen done, it's getting that full lab panel so that you can actually see your entire chemistry and what's going on. And maybe I know for me, I happen to have really high estrogen right now, so I don't need that, but I need some progesterone. I also need some help with testosterone. So you could go in and yours would be very different than mine. And I think that's the key to understand here. One thing I would like to address really quick is, there's the studies about breast cancer and don't take hormones and some of the compounding pharmacies that create those bioidentical hormones. Like there's not enough regulations and sort of the battle between Western medicine and more functional medicine. And again, you guys, it's like there's always going to be a divide there. So you kind of need to decide for your health, which way you want to go. But I hope you have an open enough mind to go. I know what I feel like is more functional medicine is for the day to day, how you feel. Western medicine can be for the big surgeries and major things that are going on in your body. And I'm not saying who you should go see as a doctor. I'm not saying giving any kind of medical advice because I am no medical expert. But I will say that, there is some controversy there. And I would love for you to address that just from your perspective.
Absolutely. I think this is a really, really critical point in the estrogen discussion or the hormone discussion, because there were some studies that came out that in the 90s that were really quite scary for women that were taking hormones at that time. I want to reassure women out there that research and understanding of the body has come a long way. Those studies were done with horse hormones as the hormones that the women were taking into their bodies. There was not often progesterone given as well, so it was called unopposed estrogen that was given in the bodies, and at levels that were not really understood as to what was the best benefit. And the age of the women were not necessarily considered of when to start and at what level. So here we were taking women who were taking horse hormones, and were being over medicated, and at ages that they. So in natural medicine, and one thing that we love to do is that really big history of a woman. And then what you find with women is that we're, like we said, we're all very unique. So the thing I love about a compounding pharmacist and pharmacy is that if you look at the conventional dosing that's available, or the ones that you can get through your local pharmacy, that's just on the corner, is that the dosing is very, very minimal, and it's rather high. It's actually, to me, I often don't even need to go into those dosing levels, because I'm not just giving someone hormones who's low on hormones. I'm looking at their thyroid. I'm supporting their adrenals. I'm supporting their brain and their endocrine system. So for me, I can keep the hormones at a much lower dose that's more tailored to the needs of the individual, as well as the fact that in our country, it's very, the way to patent a non-natural substance is easy, but you cannot patent and control a natural substance. So when someone comes in and they want a natural substance, such as an herb like turmeric or boswellia or licorice root and glycyrrhiza, they're not going to go get that from a pharmacy. They're going to go get that from an apothecary, an herbalist. And so same thing with bioidentical hormones. You don't want to just say, oh, I'm taking 5 milligrams. Well, I'm taking 10. Well, I'm taking, 15. Oh, I'm taking, because that's all the options are. And for many of us, it's even too much. what we want to do is say, I'm taking 1.75. And we don't need to tell each other that, but we want to know I'm taking the exact amount that my body needs and no more. I'm working with someone who's very knowledgeable in making sure that my body's balanced in the entire endocrine system and the entire hormone system. And by the way, if my iron is low and my B vitamins are low, that's going to be important as well, because it's hard to run these pathways without all of the ingredients that are necessary. But the bioidentical hormones, just to put in there, they're coming from yams. They're coming from the root yams, and so they're able to take that hormone structure and very easily make it into a form that our body identifies as self. So our body, in and of the nature of it, it recognizes that and knows what receptors to go into. It doesn't gum up the works of our body's hormone system. So that's very important.
Yeah, it's so huge, you guys, because regular, if we just go get regular estrogen pills, I don't even know how to, I haven't taken those. It's from horse urine, right?
It is. It's from pregnant mares.
Yes. So like our body's saying, wait, I'm not a horse, but I eat yams. So it makes sense that, again, it's just the whole perspective of medicine and letting our bodies heal itself. And I love that when you do get your hormones checked, because I have had friends say, oh, I went on this and it was way too much estrogen and all these things started happening to my body, or way too much of something. You guys, that's why you want to go and get things that are made for your body based on your lab. So if you go and talk to a naturopath, they're not going to give you anything until they check your blood and they look at your labs and they see what is your picture of health, like what is going on in your body. Because I think any headaches, brain fogginess, not being able to sleep, anxiety, all these things that we have, there's a root cause. And I think in our program, it's so fun because we focus a ton on nutrition. We focus a lot on moving our bodies. And for some people, they got to cut out some of this cardio, because this cardio is just making their cortisol and adrenals and everything it's not benefiting them as much as it did maybe when they were younger. Maybe it's bringing in some more of the meditation and the yoga and the mindset work. But you guys, it's all puzzle pieces. It's puzzle pieces that you get to uniquely work. You have to work on uniquely within yourself. But I think the labs and your hormones is one of the biggest keys, because you could do all these other things. And if you feel like you still don't feel right, there's something else going on in your body. So a couple questions I have really quick before we wrap up. We just have a few more minutes here. I had a couple questions come from some girls that wanted me to ask. How would you change your workouts based on your cycle? So if you're still having your cycle, how would you change your workouts?
So for women, it's very important for us. So oftentimes the most difficult time with working out is right before your cycle. Generally, when women have started their flow, they get more of a surge of energy, but that pre-workout, that pre-flow or pre-cycle time, or consider the PMS time, 5 to 7 days, between 3 and 5 days before your cycle, can be more of a time of fatigue, a time when you can really bring down the hormone levels a little bit and calm them. If you can calm those workouts just a little bit, to give your body and your endocrine system a chance, because your hormone levels at that time are really dropping off and falling off, to create the messages to the lining of the uterus. It's okay to go. It's okay to let go. Amino acids, branched chain amino acids, are so critical for women who are working out, that we're getting those pre and post workout. The other thing that we're wanting to take are things like L-carnitine. And now I'm going into my doctor mode of what you should take before pre and post workout. But it is important that we understand that, yes, there's an adrenal effect to those workouts. I see a lot of people working out, and what they do is they do a pre-shot. So they'll do caffeine. They'll really pump up their adrenals before a workout, which can be very damaging for the body, and especially very damaging for the hormone system. Because what happens for us is that our body will steal from our sex hormones to create the stress hormones that we need for those heavy workouts. And then if we aren't careful, we can go into blood sugar dysregulation very easily. And you may be surprised, I'm not surprised, but a lot of my clients that come in are athletes. I have Spartan racers, I have triathletes, I have marathon runners, I have very amazing professional athlete women. And I say that because they're coming in, and what I find that they've done is that because they've pushed through these heavy workouts, regardless of their cycle time, like meaning not just taking that 3 to 5 days to just kind of lower down those cycles, really do a lot of self-care and up the nutrients. What happens is that they've created this sugar dysregulation, and the adrenals take the hit pretty bad. And so I can, we've talked about replacing sex hormones, and I can replace those fairly easily. But when you get a thyroid or an adrenal gland that's out of balance, it takes 3 to 6 months really of consistent effort and practice to make really resilient, robust change in those glands. So
it's so interesting. I think, when your body's not feeling right, you guys, there's a reason, right? There's a reason. And I think that when we can get really in tune with our bodies and empower ourselves to know we're worth self-care. I hear a lot of people say, and I know I even feel that, sometimes you go to a naturopath or some of this functional medicine, it's not covered under insurance. You guys, pay for your health now, because if you have to pay for sickness later, you're going to pay a heck of a lot more than you're paying right now. And I think that's one of the things in our program that we talk about a lot is just even the foods that you're eating, you guys, unprocessing your diet and eating more natural foods, and then getting your labs checked along with the hormones. Think about how much of an impact that's going to have on your day-to-day quality of life. I just love that. So one last question, if you don't mind. I know we're running a little bit over, but thyroid and gluten. Someone said if they have thyroid issues and gluten, and you and I have had some interesting conversations about gluten. So just 1 minute, your take on gluten.
I'm not a big gluten fan. Gluten, it's not about who inflames with gluten. Everyone inflames with gluten. Gluten is known to swell the bowels and to cause inflammation. The big debate, the medical debate, is, does it cause an immune response, and is there an allergic reaction? Like, do you have celiac disease or gluten sensitivity? And of course, that's best determined with blood work and blood tests, or elimination diets, which can be pretty severe elimination of different foods. But as far as the gluten connection with the thyroid, yes, gluten has shown to be connected to several imbalances and diseases over time, and the thyroid is one of them, as well as dairy. So gluten and dairy are two big culprits for these, for particular, it's called molecular mimicry, in which these can cause swelling in the body that cause an immune reaction in some people, not everyone, but in some people, those immune responses can be particularly stressful for the thyroid and for the hormones that the thyroid makes, the T3 and the T4, or the binding globulins and the proteins that are carrying them throughout the body. And that's the thyroid is our metabolic thermostat. It really helps us to maintain temperature, maintain weight, maintain a sense of calm in the body. When the thyroid is high, we can be very anxious. When the thyroid is low, very, very fatigued. And so the thyroid is something, definitely any hormone check should include the thyroid, should be a very thorough exam. But there is in the research a connection between gluten. Now, does it mean everyone with a thyroid issue has a gluten problem? Well, I would again say not necessarily an immune problem, but an inflammation problem and a swelling problem. It's gluten in the bowels is inflammatory. It's swelling in the bowels. So it will cause GI and gut issues. And people have talked about, well, where you get the gluten and what kind, and if it's fermented. So there's many discussions that we could have. We could have a whole nother episode just on gluten.
I know. And I think that the biggest thing, you guys, about gluten is now there's all kinds of gluten-free processed junk food. Just know it's not like it's about having carbs that are from sweet potato, brown rice, quinoa, like things that are going to fuel your body in a different way. So don't think like, oh, if I eat gluten-free brownies, I'm good, because we could have a whole nother episode on sugar, right? So
yes, sugar and the binders. Yeah, and binders that they try to make to mimic the gluten. So they're, those things aren't made in nature. Those things are made in a chemistry lab.
yeah. I read the other day, like, if, when you eat, try to eat foods that you could actually recreate in your kitchen. And I loved that theory. I was thinking, okay, that's a good gauge. And again, people in our Thriving to 50 and Beyond program, we're at all levels of nutrition. Some of you are very, very savvy with your nutrition, and some just, want the basics. And so I think when you, hear some of these things, hopefully you're inspired to, just do your best. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about never ever eating gluten. But maybe if you don't shop for it, you don't order it, you just kind of are very mindful of how you fuel your body. And when you do get your labs checked, you're probably going to be pretty motivated to make some changes based on what you find. Because the other thing, by the time we are thriving to 50 and beyond, our body, if it's been inflamed for many, many years, now you're seeing a lot of those symptoms come out. I think we're more resilient when we're in our 20s and 30s a lot of times. And as we age, our bodies are getting tired, and you're starting to see more symptoms: the joint pain, the tired, the fatigue, the digestion issues, the bloat, the brain fog. I mean, there's so many things, but sometimes it's compounded over the course of time. And so you have to understand that there's got to be a level of patience with making some changes, the bigger changes first, and then just start working on having this, just this overall attitude that I'm going to have a really good life in my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, my 70s. I can feel good. I can be energetic. I can empower myself to feel better than I do right now. So, is there anything you want to add before we talk about how to get a hold of you?
I just to, applaud you for your journey, and for you, coming and getting your labs done and having the courage to share that with others. I think it's so beautiful that we can talk about these subjects. I think it's a wonderful space to just be able to say, hey, be vulnerable and say, yeah, I'm struggling. We're all human. We're all here. We're here together. We're here to help each other. And I was just at a big medical conference, and something really profound hit me. It says, we consider, and primarily like in America, we consider inflammation aging. So much of what we consider our paradigm around, oh, this is normal aging, really is not normal aging at all. It's just chronic inflammation. And so we've just seen it over and over with those who have gone before, and with our peers, that this is normal aging. It's not normal. It's not natural, and it's not healthy. So if you're struggling, come, and find a tribe that will talk about this stuff. It's important.
I love that. So you are located in San Diego. So anyone who's in Southern California can come into your office and visit with you, or if they're not local, tell us the best ways to get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So I do teleconference or telemedicine as well. So I can do a Zoom video conference or telephone call as well. The best way to get a hold of me, my website is Dr. Megen McBride, and my first name's spelled a little differently. It's Megen, and ND.com, because I'm a naturopathic doctor. It's just funny. There's another doctor, same name, on the same block, but she's an MD and it's spelled very differently. So that's why I have to preface is if someone just looked up Megen McBride, they might find, but I'm a naturopathic doctor here in Encinitas. And yeah, I mean, I could give you any information you want, but I'm on Facebook and on the web as well.
Okay, perfect. And your Facebook page, is it Dr. Megen McBride? Is that your name on there?
It is. It's my name. Yeah.
Guys, I'll put her website and her Facebook link. I'll post it with this recording. Your website's fabulous, by the way. So if you dig into her website, there's a lot of insight about Dr. McBride, and then also just her consultations, some of the things that she offers. So that's a great place to start. And, you know, just go in and you know, I just encourage everyone to take the time to get your hormones checked. It's going to change your life. It really is, because a lot of the things that you think are normal or you think are part of just this stage of life can be fixed. There's things that you can do to feel better. So this has been so good. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. And I'm going back in to see her tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow. But thank you are amazing. I'm so grateful. Dr. McBride was actually referred to me by a really dear friend. And I think that's the thing. I'm so happy to have met you and to have had you help me, and then to be able to refer and recommend you to other people, because you are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me share. Wonderful.